candy. But it's always wonderful, a child's heart. He said, give me some of that. Said, isn't that beautiful? And we got grown folk. You say, well, you know, I ain't gonna give you, I'm not gonna give you a speech. I'm not gonna give you a hello. I ain't giving you nothing. Cast your bread upon the waters. Give freely. How can you do it, preacher? God honors vulnerability. He honors service in his way and his own time. You don't do for the sake of receiving. You do because that's the spirit that lives inside you. Every child of God has to learn the value of having the kind of a heart and the kind of a character that loves a chance to give, because that's the nature of the God that made you. For God so loved the world that he gave. Cast your bread upon the waters. As you frame your life in 2014, look for a chance to just give of yourself. I got to make this brief. There's a workshop that I traveled doing on, it's called, it deals with the sense of dating smarter and not longer. And we talk about how do you figure out whether you're going to talk to somebody or spend time with them. And at the core of it is the emphasis upon the idea of people that only do stuff to get, run. Anybody who doesn't know the value of doing for the sake of the bigger good, folk, I'll never volunteer for a cancer march. I'll never volunteer to do anything for free. If ain't nobody paying me, if I ain't getting no benefit, I'm doing nothing. That there's something wrong with the kind of a heart that only does for the sake of giving. God called you the kind of spirit that will cast your bread upon the waters, cast it out there believing that somehow that God is going to bring a blessing back to you. You'll never win by having a hoarding kind of spirit. Tell somebody, cast your bread on the waters. Look at you again at our text in chapter 11 of Ecclesiastes, verse 1. Again, say, cast your bread upon the waters, for you will find it after many days. In verse 2, give a serving to 7 and also to 8, for you don't know what evil be on the earth. Look at someone and tell them, God bless you. Tell them, tell them, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Cool, that's all. The second idea is that he emphasized the idea. He said, give out to 7 or 8. His point is simply the idea that you ought not to put all you have into one small arena of anything. You know what's interesting to me is there are people who, as they get older, know fewer and fewer people. You ever notice how as you get older, you can get to a place where your children have died and your grandkids, your children have died, and your friends have died. And so I'm just waiting. Why am I still here? I'm just waiting to die. There's something significant about those who understand the significance and value of planting the seed of their life into new people all of the time. How do you get to be up in age, in your 80s or your 90s or even older, or at some point in life, when you come to the point and you say, I don't know anybody else that's living. I have no access. I have no new friends. I've not had a new friend in 45 years. That suggests the idea that you're putting all your eggs into one basket. I can only connect with a small group of folks. I can only give my life into a small group of people. Do you not understand the idea of the church is that God allows new folk to be added to the family of God? And every time somebody you come in, you got an addition to your family. You want to have members inside this church that's 17 and 18 and 24, and you can be in your 90s and you know them by their first name because you spend a relationship building as you get older. If you don't learn the principle of building connection with life as you get older, you will outlive your own life. You can get older and just begin to feel like, I don't know anybody. My grandmother, bless her soul, she lived about 106, and she was from Louisiana. She was living in Southeast Texas at the time of her death, but the only folks she still knew was just her 2 daughters and her immediate grandkids. life doesn't have to be that way. You got to learn to put your eggs in many baskets. You got to learn the principle of planting seed in the lives of others. He emphasized the idea, be as liberal as you can, and then give some more. So it's important to learn the value of being generous in your life. Learn the value of investing in other people. Some folk only invest in folk who they see the value in them.
All right now.
You work my time. You ain't got no trouble. You made all the right decisions. As I look at you, I can see giving some time. You're worth it. Do you not realize there's some folk, you look at it, there's some folk, can I be honest with you? There's some folk that irritate me. There's a brother who doesn't attend here. But he'll call me sometime, and when he calls, I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting myself ready. Because we'll have a complaint. And after hearing the complaints, I say, okay, see, it ain't my job to understand what God is doing in that man's life. It's my responsibility to be there for him as best I can, no matter what God is doing. Sometimes we have a tendency to look at folk and we write off, well, that ain't worth my time, and I will not give time to worthless people. You don't know who God has picked out to plant something inside of that you can't see. You got to learn the value of looking at everybody in a distinction and declaring, I don't know what God is. I don't care if you're from the hood. I don't care if you've been learning to cuss every other word. There's some folk, when they come into the family of God, they learn no better. We baptize, not just, and praise God. Some of y'all been in church a long time. Y'all still don't know how to stop cussing. Don't raise your hand. I just thought you were a more spiritual Christian than that. I had any idea that you had issues. I never talked with you. Lord knows I can't afford to get issue folk on me. You don't know what God's doing in any context. So it's important and essential to understand, one, you reach for the chance to never try to be discern or decide how to limit how you're going to be a blessing. The emphasis is put your eggs in every basket that you can. And sometimes the reason we don't do that is there's a fear.
Well,
if I let the wrong people, if I talk to the wrong folk, they're going to mess me up. We got some drug addicts, you know. You ought to talk to. No, let me make sure I put some disclaimer on this when you go lose your mind. Now, I want you to realize that first of all, that if you ain't got control of your drug issues, don't go hang out with nobody with drugs. Like preacher said, I'm gonna hang out with everybody, and I ain't through getting high, but I'm gonna hang out with you. No, but I ain't saying that. I emphasize the idea that you can't help somebody else until you break yourself free of your own battle. But once you broke somewhat free, the Bible suggests the idea that you ought to look for somebody on how to make them stronger and make them better. You have never come to a place where you've arrived. God let you get 2 steps ahead of where you are, so somebody who's 8 steps behind you can get a blessing. See the value of planting seed in everybody you know. Because everybody you have access to actually is your ministry. God has put folk inside your life. He gauges your spirit. He gauges your love for him based on how you deal with the folk you know. It's easy to love folk I ain't never met. It's the folk I know that irritate me. I want you to realize here that first of all, he emphasized the idea, don't fear the future and live a miserly life. You don't know what tomorrow brings. So his emphasis is actually the idea that when you deal with people in life, you don't know who will help you later. That little boy in this congregation who always in trouble, the teenager that you see with pants hanging down the hip, got to hold the belt up, to walk. You have no idea what God's going to do in that person's life. Don't get caught up on his pants. I just get sick of these kids with his pants hanging down like a clown, pants hanging down. Stop looking at the pants and meet the person. We got some girls in this church, I just see them, they just show up, and it just gets to my last nerve. They show up here, they looking all prissy, and they just don't know how to dress, and they are so fast. They're just so loose. Oh, I just can't imagine the fast looseness that runs up and down rapidly, and I don't know how to dress. Oh, Jesus, help me. You don't know what God's trying to do in a person's life. I know we preached in Jacksonville, North Carolina, and there's a sister, Barbara. Barbara was schizophrenic. And Barbara would come to church service. She would run with down the street. I mean, Barbara had been through so much. They were doing a case study on her family because the number of schizophrenics in the family generationally was so many. And she went through, so it was really sad. All the hurt and pain she's been through because she'd been raped. It's been this terrible situation. But Barbara showed up to service on a Sunday, and Barbara walked the streets. Now Barbara had a different kind of walk. She walked like this. And you see her walking down the street. And Barbara came to service on Sundays, and many Sundays Barbara would come forward. Now Barbara had a deathly fear of water. She would come to service and go to the bathroom and take towels and try to wipe herself off because she's afraid. She's a fear of water. I don't have that childhood, but she had a fear of water. But I would call one Sunday, Barbara came to service. And Barbara would wear, in Jacksonville, nice warm weather, she would wear 3 or 4 layers of clothing. And she would have some stuff on back with some stuff on front. But she came to service one Sunday, and she came early. But Barbara would have several layers on, and Barbara would have an odor. But then one Sunday, she showed up, and a sister from our congregation, we've been talking about how to love folk. And she showed up one Sunday, and one of my sisters got a hold of us and said, Barbara, baby, won't you come with me for a ride? She took Barbara in a car to her house. Said, Barbara, take some time, baby, and freshen yourself up. And Barbara went in the bathroom, she said, yeah, honey, put these clothes on. And brought Barbara back to worship service and time for service. So she looked at Barbara and said, you smell, your clothes look dirty. Why are you up in this church? Because we had some folk who saw Barbara that way. But it's essential to realize that you don't understand other folks' battle. You don't know the fight they've had to go through. You don't know the road they've had to come down. You have lived a blessed life. Some of us have never had a real challenge in our world, and to find somebody there and somehow to judge them and not ask God, how can I be of service and plant an egg and a seed in somebody's life? That's the call from God. So look for a chance to bless everybody. Don't be discretionary. And I know some of y'all had some discretionary gifts this past week. You know, I'm buying some gifts for my family. You ain't related to me? It's easy to take care of your own. But there's something key about the kind of spirit that gives without discretion. That blesses because you know you've been blessed. Praise God. Well, tell somebody, throw your bread up on the waters. Tell them, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Tell them, get your back off the wall. Look at verse 3 and 4. Verse 3 and 4.